Hello. Hey guys. How's things going? I just thought I'd do an impromptu live. It's Friday evening here, and I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong. The previous sessions, my Mac Mini was kind of tucked under the display thing, so it wasn't really ventilating properly. Now it's out in the open. Seems to be running a lot stably now. That fan speed is under control. Just plugged into the Soldano straight in with a nice long cable. Oh cool, you're in Canada and there's no lag there. Amazing. Yeah, it should be pretty stable now. I think that issue is started, touch wood. I do think like this Soldano is pretty much the best sounding amp for these live streams. A, because I'm plugged straight and there's no pedals or anything to think about. So and the tone's pretty much like you don't really have to do much. But like every mistake you make, it comes out loud and clear. But it is very responsive. So that's the crunch channel. So the live album, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it was recorded with the Soldano instead of the custom audio that I normally would use for a live gig. So it was kind of cool because I didn't really have to, think about the whole tap dancing thing. There was a bit of reverb and delay that I put on a separate amp, a wet amp, which I think was a Fender Twin, and I just had this one foot switch, which goes between the crunch and the distortion, and I had a expression pedal for some delay. So Ankur's asking which part of the world am I in? I'm in the southern hemisphere. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. But I should be in Mumbai, I think, on the 1st of November. I'll be there from the 1st to the 5th. And I've got a gig with my old band Zero. And we're getting together after a long time to play some songs that we wrote when we were in our teens and early 20s. So it should be fun to kind of go through some of that. Chicken Ice Cream is us saying he covered Anuva's Sky and posted on Instagram. Cool. You can't do the chugga chugga because they use a Marshall amp sim with max gain and the mistakes are too obvious there. It's a bit of a journey, learning to use less gain, because the gain's kind of a bit like a crutch and it covers up a lot of the slop and it lets you play legato, especially if you've got like light strings and low action. But I went from playing with a ton of gain. I used to have a Boss HM2 pedal, and I got my first Marshall, which was a JCM 800, and that was kind of like a bit of a revelation. I kind of had to clean up my playing a lot, especially the right hand. So the 800 is kind of just like this much gain. So if you hit hard, it'll crunch up, and then I would put a boost pedal in front, and this one's got an overdrive channel. So that's kind of like the most amount of gain I would play. But here's the interesting thing: I always have my volume control on the guitar drop down a bit. So even though the gain's like full out, like when I'm playing, the volume's backed off. I'm always riding the volume up and down. Saurav saying, have I written any new music for the next album? Yeah, I'm actually sitting on a bunch of new material that I have to get down to finishing. And I got busy with work and family life and everything, you know how it happens. But yeah, I don't know. I don't making any deadlines. Maybe sometime next year, I reckon. Because till the end of the year, I think I've got stuff to do. So maybe once things tie down a little bit. I always like the New Zealand winter too, because everything slows down and gets really you stay at home and finish all the stuff that you'd put on the back burner. Do I play all the Bollywood sessions from New Zealand? Yeah, since I moved in June 2020. And since then, whatever I've been playing on has been remote. And it works out pretty well because I've got everything in this room. Otherwise, I would have to call the music director and say, what kind of guitar sound are you looking for? Sometimes it would happen really funny because say Vishal would say we're looking at doing a rock song, and by the time the session was halfway through, the rock song had changed into a funk kind of thing. Luckily, I could pull out a decent funk sound out of this, something like that, out of the Soldano. But I wouldn't, if they had told me it was a funk thing, I would have probably taken the Bella and maybe a boost or something. So, But here it's like I can just audition different amps and, go between different guitars. It's all in one place. So it has been working out pretty well, and they do a Zoom call to just make sure that, everything's what they want. Been inspired by the volume riding, playing with the dynamics and all after the last live stream. Yeah, cool. It's a learning process. The more you do it, the more you get the hang of it. Especially on a Strat, you can start playing with your pinky kind of, play Gungru once, please? I don't even remember most of it, but I remember something like. Sorry, I'm blanking out right now. But I remember there was a little bit of that thing, which was kind of like there's a Whitesnake song called "Still of the Night," and then she go like something like that. That's like a string line, but it's always fun playing it on the guitar. So that some of that kind of seeped in into the Gungru riff. It's been ages since I've played that. Usually, most of the Bollywood stuff, unless I'm playing it regularly live with whoever I, whoever wrote the songs, it's kind of hard for me to keep it in rotation. If you know what I mean. It's like once I don't play it for a while, the memory cells get filled up with other stuff like whatever I'm currently working on. Have I tried covering Jeff Beck songs? Yeah, I did a cover of this one. It's so we'll go. There was that one. Then I on Instagram I used to play a song called Nadia, which is a Nitin Sawhney song. It's always good fun to play that one. And then we used to do Stratus, which is not really a Jeff Beck song, but he does play it pretty regularly. It's actually a Billy Cobham song from an album called Spectrum, I think. And the guitar player on that was Tommy Bolin, who also had played in the James Gang and Deep Purple. He was the first replacement for Blackmore after Blackmore left. It was Tommy Bolin on guitar. So Tommy Bolin played on Billy Cobham's Spectrum, and that was a big influence on Jeff. Kind of go into that jazz rock sphere. So that became a song we would play as well pretty often. There's a cool version of Stratus with Larry Carlton on guitar. I think I spoke about it in the last live stream. The way he comes in and everything. That's worth checking out as well. And then what other Beck stuff? I would love to be able to play this one. Always get stuck with the. It's really tough with the 6-point. He's got a 2-point trem, which is a little bit easier to control. And if you look at him playing the bar, he's always got it somewhere here. So it's a little easier to control. I don't know. I do my best. But that's a beautiful song if you haven't heard it. It's called Where Were You? And I remember the first time I downloaded that song on Napster. That was the first and only song I downloaded on Napster. I was reading a guitar magazine about I think some interview with Joe Satriani, I think, and he was talking about how he heard this song and he was like really blown away. And so I went to the cassette shop. That's how old I am. I went to the cassette shop and the guy didn't really know of Jeff Beck or anything. So I was like, fuck, I gotta get this. I think we had just got a new computer. It was like trying out this Napster thing with dial-up internet. And I think it started downloading at like 5 p.m. in the evening and it finished at like 2 or something in the middle of the night, and I stayed awake waiting for that song to download. And it was downloading at like 3 kbps, which is ridiculous if you think about it now. 3 kbps to download it. Finally, I got this, 2 or 3 MB file. I think it was like a very low bit rate in any case. I heard it and I was like, fuck, this is, a work of art. No, I knew Jeff Beck, but I didn't heard that particular song. So the guy at the shop had never heard of Jeff Beck. So he was used to selling, Bollywood soundtracks and stuff. If I wanted like Eagles Hotel California, I would have to order it and then wait for like a week or 2 weeks. And I slowly got like most of the Beatles stuff. Led Zeppelin is what I would collect at that time on cassette. Would save $30 each day from lunch money, and every 2 days I'd buy one cassette for 60 rupees. It was fun times. Do I like progressive rock or some new modern rock metal like gent? No, that's more like my brother's thing, the whole gent thing. He's, I think he's open for Meshuggah and everything. But I like progressive rock from the 70s, like Jethro Tull, Yes, and some King Crimson, and who else? Genesis, early Genesis. Uh, and then from like the newer bands, I kind of like the more psychedelic. There's a band from Sweden I love called Dungen, Dung, and they have a new album out that actually came out today or yesterday, which is that if you haven't heard them before, check out an album called um, sorry, second album. I think it's called Ta Det Lunt or something like that. But the song is called Panda. Start with that. That's a cool one. And then I check out a bit of King Gizzard and the Lizard, or King Lizard and the Gizzard, or something like that it's called. It's a cool band. I think they're playing here pretty soon. Should probably get tickets. I got tickets to see The Darkness. Because I thought it'd be a fun gig. And I like listening to loud marshals as well. They're playing at a venue called the Power Station. And I'd been to that venue, I think almost 10 years ago, to watch the Black Crows. And it was so loud I had to leave. It was like literally, I had earplugs and it was still painfully loud. I was like, after 3 songs, I was like, I gotta get out of this. My earring's gonna go for a toss. I don't know what that sound guy was, because it's like an indoor venue, maybe around 2,000-3,000 people at the most. It was like pushing the volume limit of, the room after a point starts like compressing, so it kind of got really brutal. What are my views on Guthrie Govan? Guthrie, I've been a fan of his stuff since he used to do these little tutorials in one of those UK guitar magazines. That's the first time I heard of him. And then I think his album came out, the one with Erotic Cakes, I think that's what it's called. Waves and all that stuff. That was some cool shit. But to be honest, like with the hyper technical guitar playing, I can take it in very small doses. I can't really listen to an entire album in one sitting. Not to say that Guthrie is not melodic or something. He's got a beautiful melodic sense. It's just that amount of information, I have trouble processing it. So it's not the music, it's me. And I like stuff which I can digest over time. Like, say for example, like who's like, say Richie Blackmore, for example, is like, heaps of technique and everything, but the guitar playing is part of the whole equation. I mean, you've got a kick-ass rhythm section, and there's some simple riffs, that kind of stuff. So there's a healthy balance of like the shred with the the stuff that I can digest easily. So I'm still a bit of a like I haven't evolved to the point where I can listen to an entire album of full on like hyper speed guitar playing, for example. If that's like the focus, then I lose interest after like 2 or 3 songs. But I can take it in small doses and I can really appreciate it. It's just that long-term listening to it is when, you know, I have problems with that. Would love to hear me play the melody for two sides of the same coin. Here we go. So it's kind of like a. It keeps going between those two sections. Something along those lines. It's a cool song to just do a whole improv thing in the middle because you can just float through the whole thing and not really have to think about it. I heard a really cool quote by Vinny Colaiuta, who's one of the greatest drummers of all time, and he said, "Thought is the enemy of flow," which I think is quite deep. But yeah, it's pretty much true. If you're trying to flow through a solo, you don't really want to be thinking about it. You want to have your stuff down to a point where you're not thinking about it. I've missed anyone's comments or questions. Favorite guitar players, man, that's like a long question. Probably let me pick out a couple of guitar players who, need a bit of props, like Don Felder from the Eagles, then Mick Ralphs from Bad Company. Great guitar player. I love listening to all his stuff. All the guitar players who are good songwriters, like I'm a huge fan. Andy Summers from the Police. Then let me think. The whole bunch of British guitar players from the 70s. Most of them. Who am I forgetting? It'll come to me. I mean, I've always spoke about how I love Michael Landau and Derek Trucks from guitar players who are still alive today. Hendrix was huge when I finally got it. I think I was probably in my early 20s because I'd been playing Hendrix and all since I was 16 or 17, but kind of, very superficially. And once you get into it, you learn some cool stuff, especially his rhythm playing. Hendrix was a brilliant rhythm guitar player. If you listen to the isolated guitar track on Bold as Love, there's some lovely shit going on in there. Clapton, yeah, with all the Cream stuff. That was like my early blues stuff. That's where I got it from. All the Fresh Cream and the 2 live albums. Some cool stuff there. We heard the VC quote the first time in latest Rick Beato episode about Jeff Beck. Yeah, that's where I think I probably heard it for the second time. Vinny's always been one of my favorite drummers. In fact, I got to see him live with Jeff Beck. And there was this point where he got so into something he was playing, he managed to flick his glasses off. It was a hilarious moment of the show. Have I tried shovel guitars? I did actually have a shovel. It was one of those 2 humbucker things. What is it called? I think SoCal or San Dimas or something like that. Out of Floyd Rose. I got it a good deal on it in New Zealand, and then I got it down to India and I sold it to one of my friends there. But it was a good guitar while I had it. It just I can kind of do everything that I want on a normal Strat. I didn't really need the whole Floyd Rose shebang. The Clapton stuff. I'll show you most of the stuff I used to play. Uh, I think it's. It's good fun playing all that stuff. First time I kind of learned how to play like. I thought that was like the greatest thing ever. Any gyro kavi stories? I have a ton of gyro kavi stories, but do you have time? Any quick Michael Bloomfield lick I can teach you? I'm sorry, I'll blank out on Bloomfield licks, but having said that, there's a really nice album called Super Session with Bloomfield, Al Cooper, and Steven Stills. You should probably check that out if you haven't. In the importance of the blue note while playing the blues. Okay, this is a simple enough thing. So take your minor pentatonic. Okay, now you take the thirds, which are the minor thirds, and bend them up a quarter tone. So now you can play a major blues and then play that sort of a thing. And that'll work really well over a major blues. So you can do the major pentatonic, and then you flit into this, the minor one with the thirds bent up a quarter tone. So that zone between the minor third and the major third, that's your blue note there. And there's also like stuff which you can do, like the fourths, bending it up ever so slightly to the. You're kind of targeting the flat fifth. So it's just a matter of getting used to these intervals, Even if you take your root, you can actually bend that up to. You're struggling to get good sustain while bending at the higher frets. Is there a tell to figure it out, or if it's just technique, or you get someone to look at the guitar setup? I would say get someone to look at the fret job, because what can happen sometimes if you've worn out a particular fret, then some of the subsequent frets may be blocking the vibration because they'll be taller. If you've worn out this fret, for example, then this guy's taller, that'll get in the way of the sustain. So you need to kind of get a fret job. And normally what most of the guys who do my fret work, they do is from the 12th fret onwards, they make each fret a little bit shorter. So you're kind of, getting a slight reduction in height as you go in this direction. And once that's done, it makes bending, a bit easier, especially like, if you've got a radius neck, then it's a more severe problem then. I've got a 12-inch radius, which is not so flat like a vintage Strat, for example. And that's one of the reasons I actually picked these Eric Johnson Strats, because they've got a flatter radius, and I kind of prefer that. I don't really like the curved vintage radius, unless it's like a compound thing where it goes from 7.25 all the way down to 9.5 or even 10. So that may be something that you could look at. If you bend, look at the higher frets and see if any of those frets are actually making contact with the string. If they are, then yeah, you need a fret job. What have I missed? There was this particular slide solo of mine on Instagram with the back catalog of Pink Floyd in the background. Oh, I know the one you're talking, that metal slide one. That became a song called Out of the Ether from the Hindsight is 2020 album. check that out. You'll probably hear the full version there. Am I a fan of Western classical guitar music? Yeah, I love listening to it, but in terms of playing any of it, I'm very bad at it. I remember like doing the thing where when that I can't even remember something like that, right? I used to be able to play that when I was a kid, and then I just did not practice any of that shit, so I'm very bad at it now. Can I always 100% hear what note you're playing or want to play over the key center? Yeah, usually. Because I've got pretty good relative pitch. I don't have perfect pitch, but if I know what key I'm in, for example, if I know I'm in G, and then I can just hear da da, I can just play that da 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 da, that sort of thing. Whatever I hear in my head, I can play as long as I know where my key center is. Now, what happens is like sometimes the intervals, if they are going by really quickly, then that becomes a problem. And if there's a ton of harmonic information, then sometimes hearing the exact note may require me to, like, say if I'm recording, I may just need to go back a couple of times and just make sure that that's actually what I'm hearing in my head. But most of the time, if it's usual diatonic stuff, you can play to that without having to think too much about it. Spanish Romance. Oh yeah, that's the one. And I used to do this other one as well. My dad actually taught me this when I was like 6 or 7. I think it was called Malagena or something like that. Yeah. Fuck this bloody sleeve. That and something everyone had to know was that intro from Hell Freezes Over for the acoustic Hotel California, which went like. So everyone had to like learn that and Sultans of Swing. There were some funny days, and of course this other one. This actually got me to practice my. Was it? I think I need to do a tune. One sec. This weather is getting a bit warm during the day, and then suddenly at night it starts freezing. So you will have to pardon me. It's usually the G. E is fine. B is fine. Yeah, it is G. Sorry, I don't have a tuner inline because I'm plugged straight into the amp. So you kind of have to hear. This guy went a bit sharp. It's one of my favorite sounds actually. There's a Hendrix live album called Live at Winterland, and you can hear him actually tuning his guitar through like these two huge Marshall stacks, and it's like distorted, and then you just. Then he finally gets it in tune, and you're like, yeah, that sounds glorious. My views on Van Halen about his tones and his style of playing. He's got a very unique style of playing. First of all, he is one of the best rhythm guitar players of all time because his swing is impeccable. So if you don't have that swing in the right hand, there's no point even like thinking about what gear he used and stuff like that, because so much of it just was generated in the way he hit the strings. So it's kind of unique as well. I've heard some people come close, but It's quite a one of a kind guitar player. I did a cover of Drop Dead Legs on the YouTube channel if you haven't checked it out. And that was my tribute when he passed away, because that was like one of the first Van Halen songs I actually heard properly, because I mean, I heard You Really Got Me and Jump and the hits, but my dad had given me a cassette of 1984 um, that somebody had taped for him and gave it to him, and people would give him tapes like Friends and stuff like that, and he would pass them on to me, and that had like Top Jimmy and Drop Dead Legs and all that stuff, which is some of his best stuff. That's If you haven't heard Drop Dead Legs, that's like one of the funkiest riffs. It's got like a ton of swagger on it. Have I tried dabbling with instruments other than guitar and bass? Yeah, I do have a little two-octave keyboard here, so the world of MIDI instruments is at my fingertips. So I can play like enough keyboards to program stuff, pads and strings and stuff. I do love writing string parts. Right from the first Black Side Blues album, I did a whole bunch of string lines on Anuva Sky and Blues for Gary. You can hear all that stuff. And then there was there was a song called Cowboys and Indians on the second album. I did an elaborate string arrangement on that, but it's like a really short little piece of music. But that was a lot of fun for me to do. And apart from, I would love to play drums. I just can't coordinate all four limbs enough to be able to keep a steady beat on the drums. I can ironically play Take Five, 5/4 groove somewhat decently on drums. But yeah, I mean, I would really like to be able to, record drums sometime. But I mean, I know a ton of good drummers, so it's all good. How did Michael Landau influence me? He has some of the best guitar tone I've ever heard, and he's also a brilliant songwriter. You know, some of the stuff on his solo albums, because I think he is so at least when he was in the thick of his session days, he was playing on pretty much predominantly pop music, predominantly, and his solo stuff was an opportunity for him to stretch out and just spread his wings. And if you listen to his first solo album called Tales from the Bulge, there's some really cool songs. There's one in which Wayne Shorter is playing sax. That's really cool. And it's always like approaching it from a composition point of view, so that was a big influence to me. Just the guitar is part of the bigger picture. It's not so much like, how you, I mean, and Landau's got some sick chops. It's not like he doesn't, and he can only play pentatonics and stuff. No, he's got some in-depth chops, but he chooses like just the right moments to showcase that. And that's something I really took away from listening to him. You thought only the Les Pauls have a G string going out of tune. No, this one will go out of tune when the weather shifts, because I mean, you can't fuck with physics. It gets cold, metals will contract, and then it goes a bit sharp. Then same thing happens in the afternoon, because this time of the year we tend to have bigger temperature swings. Like right now, let me see, what's the temperature right now? It feels a bit approaching the tens, which will be maybe teens or something like that. What's it? 9 degrees. I was pretty close. It's 9 degrees right now. In the afternoon, it was 18 degrees. So we've had a 9 degree temperature shift from afternoon, when I last tuned the guitar in the afternoon, till now. I'll show you something cool. I was playing around with the black hole preset on the Eventide. You can hear this. It's perfect for playing this. that. What's the bit? This is one of my favorite guitar parts of all time. Just this bit. Something along those lines. So it's also good for kind of, when you're just looking at a film score, just trying to sketch out a few ideas, just drop a chord like. How about Brothers in Arms? Sure, I can do it's that bit where he goes. Maybe we'll turn that huge reverb off. Let me see if I can play you some Black Star Blues stuff. What is that doing? Let's see. Let's try doing out of. I'll try out of the E. Yeah. So we're in the key of B major. Keep playing, I will fall behind in looking at all these lovely questions and comments. Which is my favorite Mark Knopfler album? I would have to say his first solo album, which is Golden Heart. Lovely songs of that. I think he was playing a Les Paul through most of that album, and I believe he was also playing a Soldano. which is that guy over there. Not that very same one, but one like that. But thank you. You liked my little Knopfler thing. Knopfler is cool, man. I just love, you know. What's that? I keep coming back to this. Ah, I still have to get the right hand picking pattern. Even like this other one. What's that? So you kind of have to do this. Good. Yeah, so if you don't have a wah pedal, you can just roll your tone knob down. Something like that. What's my favorite John Mayer song? I think I've been asked that before, and I always say it is this one called Another Kind of Green from the Try album. Fuck, I keep forgetting that. One day I'll learn to play it properly. It's a lovely song. I like that Hendrixy sounding riff. Mark Knopfler's dynamics are insane. Yeah, in both his guitar playing and his voice. If you listen to him as a singer, he may not have the biggest range, but he does know how to emote with that voice of his. You know, most people don't really care that he's not Pavarotti or something like that. But just the way he tells a story, even like Romeo and Juliet or Brothers in Arms, or I like a song from one of his more recent albums. I think the album was called Tracker, and the song was called Beryl, about an author who was not really recognized till she died, and then she got the Booker Prize. So that kind of sounds like the early Dire Straits stuff. You want a North Star playthrough? I'll play you a little bit of it. I mean, I won't really do the whole song. I'll tell you what, actually, fuck it. I'll play you the solo from North Star. That'll be good fun. I mean, by the time I come to the solo, I'll have fallen asleep. And let me do the. Yeah. Let's go to the breakdown. This is a solo I pretty much improvised during the demo, and then I had to go back and learn it for the album because it was a cool solo. This is the third cycle now. I think I come in 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. That was the North Star solo. Do you have any plans in performing in Kolkata? Not at the moment, but I would love to sometime. I would love to go around to Park Street, eat some kathi rolls, play a gig at someplace else, all the cool shit we used to do. Meet up with Tajdar Junaid. No, actually, now he's in Bombay. I'll probably see him when I go down this time. But all the other boys, Rohan Ganguly and all Bodhisattva, Aranjoy, all the cool Calcutta guys. Um, what does Aya mean? Aya is a song name that came about because I had to name a song file and I just did this on my keyboard. And what came out was AYAYA, and then the song got named Aya. Do I hear any John Butler stuff? No, I cannot say that I do. I do hear he's pretty cool, but I haven't heard any. We're trying to learn a Jeff Beck song called Scared for the Children. Any tips to get close to his tone? Yeah, if you're playing a strat, you'd probably want to go to your bridge pickup and drop your tone down to say around 3 or 4. Get rid of your pick, throw it away, throw it out of the window. And you'd probably want to get your bridge floating, so you can pull up and pull down. And there's a certain amount of pressure you'll have to, play with because your fingers are way more dynamic than the pick. And you pretty much need to listen to him a lot. So like when you go to sleep and all, let's keep that shit rolling. It slowly seeps in. I don't know, either subconsciously or however. There was a period I would just listen like incessantly to all his stuff. There was a period in the, I think, late 90s where he had these 3 albums which were pretty electronic in a way. They were called Who Else, You Had It Coming, and Jeff. And I had all 3 on CD. And I wore that shit out, man. It was some invigorating guitar playing. There was a song called, I think, Declan or something like that, with beautiful Celtic melody that he pulls off on guitar. There's a video on YouTube about one of his guitar techs talking about what his right hand is doing on the guitar. It's like this, each finger is doing something else. One hand's on the trem bar, one's on the volume, 2 are picking and something like that. Like there's some complex shit going on. So I haven't even really scratched the surface of, his genius. But like if you watch that live at Ronnie Scott's DVD, just watch his right hand in that. Every chance you get to zoom in on, what he's doing, check it out. He's got a very, left field way of approaching the guitar because he always tries to not make it sound, like a guitar. So he'll do that, all that kind of stuff. He uses all these weird noises that are possible. Sometimes you'd find those sounds by accident, but then he goes and he takes those sounds and he finds musical uses for them. All that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. It's very also like punk rock in a way, like a giant middle finger. All that. Almost you can hear a bit of that in Eddie Van Halen's playing as well. I think Beck also did the whole. You can see him sometimes. He does the tapping thing. Not as classically minded as say Van Halen would do it, but and then there's like this, and he kind of sometimes he doesn't have a pick, but I think he's probably using his nail. Something like that. It's always good fun. three underrated riffs according to you. Okay, let me think. Probably like this one's a cool one, Blue Oyster Cult. Ah. That's one. Then two, let's go with this one called Hocus Pocus by a band called Focus. Let's call this cool song. If you watch it, there's some yodeling action and all going on. If you ever find any stuff by Focus, check it out. It's a cool prog rock band, I think, Dutch band. So they must have been smoking some good shit. So yeah, Godzilla, Hocus Pocus, and what about what about this one? It's a song called T for One by Led Zeppelin. I haven't heard too many. I think Joe Bonamassa may have done a good cover of that once, I think. Yeah, it was Bonamassa. Let me see, you can play a little snippet of something. I'll show you something cool actually. Listen to this one. The whole thing is it's kind of going between, which is kind of pretty much the North Star chord progression. And then the whole thing shifts up 3 frets to A minor, and then it comes back to so it keeps on shifting between F sharp minor and A minor. So F sharp minor, you could also look at it as A major because it's the same scale. And also, so you can just pretty much think of playing A major over this, bit of E. Now A minor. Kind of go to the end. So if you look at wait for the transition to come out. One more. So now you're going A major. Now you're playing A minor. Major. Minor. That's the whole exercise. At the end it goes by pretty quickly, so you kind of have to switch. Major, minor, major, minor. To be honest, like if you look at your major scale and your minor scale, there's your root, second, fourth, fifth are the same. So the third, there are two semitones apart, major third, minor third. Fourth is the same, fifth is the same, sixth is two semitones apart, and the sevenths are two semitones apart. So you've got four notes that are in common, which is kind of, what lets you switch. Have I missed anybody's questions? How did I find the album On an Island? I love that album. I think it came out in 2006 when I had just moved to New Zealand. Sometime around then, 2005 or 6. And I got the CD and I did listen. I played it a lot in the car. There's a lovely song on there called Smile, which I had heard before the album got released. He had done it live, I think, somewhere, and he played it on a lap steel or something like that. And then when I heard it on the album, I was like, oh, it's that cool song that he played. And, I did really love that one. And then, of course, the title track, there's some epic guitar action going on in that. And there are some songs which I used to fast forward. That one, that Take a Breath, Take a Deep Breath, I used to always fast forward that song. I never liked it. But there's some good shit on that album. Have I missed anyone? I don't think so. Okay, cool. I think we've been online for just over an hour, so I should look at turning in for the night. Cool. In case you've got any last minute questions, flick them through. Otherwise, I'll play you out with, find some shit to play. Okay, then let's play some stuff and do a tata bye bye and thank you for listening. Sure, I haven't played this one in a very long time, so here's the last question. As you're playing more and more, your ears are slowly taking you to the chord tones, but you have to think a lot about the scales. Well, you have to put in the work to be comfortable with whatever it is that you are going to play. If you're playing mostly diatonic stuff where all the chords that you're playing through come from the same scale, you should probably get that down first before you look at doing anything else, because at least you're using the same scale throughout the entire chord progression. Then what you do is you pick a chord progression in which, like, one of the chords requires you to leave the scale. Say, suppose you've got a C, A minor, F, G. All those chords are coming from your C major scale, right? So you can do now you take one of the chords, so like take the F major and make it a minor. So you've got C, A minor, which is the chords of Santo and Johnny's Sleepwalk. So now what you have to do is look at that F minor. There's one note in there. The F is from your C major scale, your C is from your C major scale, but that minor third, which is the G sharp, is not from your C major scale. So what you have to do is then play your C major scale and then know that you have to shift the G to a G sharp every time that F minor comes. So that sort of thing. So that's a good way to, break out of all the chords with the same scale. Just pick one chord, which is, do I think about scales while playing? Not really. I'm thinking about melodies and trying to play melodies. And what lets me do that is ear training, about hearing intervals. So if I hear this, if I'm playing that note and I hear the next note is da da da, I know it's the fifth. And if I hear that and the next note is da da, I know that's the fourth. And da, 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 I know that's a major seventh. So that's kind of what lets me play what I'm hearing in my head. It's the ability to track the distances between each consecutive note. Do I get that acoustic sound out of the Strat? Yeah, if you listen to it rings pretty clearly. How do I get the sound? It's just down to a good setup, I would think. I mean, the action is not really high. Sure, I will play you some, which is for me some good night music, which I haven't played in a long time. So please enjoy, and thank you for listening. Well, thank you very much for that, and I'm glad I pulled that off without any boo-boos. It's always a crapshoot if you hit the right note sometimes, in spite of playing it for years and years. Anyway, thank you very much. And so listen, today was just a test actually, because I'm supposed to do this every Sunday. So I will try and do this on the Sunday. If you do want to tune in around the same time, I think 1:30 India time, I will put a Instagram thing if I'm doing it. So if you check that out or just enable the notifications on YouTube, then we shall have a nice, maybe a longer thing if I can start a little earlier. Because now it's 11 o'clock my time and I need to get to bed. I'm a bit old now because my daughter wakes me up at, you know, some unearthly hour on a Sunday, on a Saturday morning. She want to do some plans for the day. So, chalo, thank you very much, and I will see you guys soon. Bye bye.